take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome to Life in Red.
Hi there. Welcome to episode 9. It's 9 now of the Life in Red podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome my good friend, Damian Rickards, Mr.D.
Episode 9 already.
Episode 9. And it's like, this is my 5th week, I think.
Yeah.
I've been hitting it hard.
You have been. Hard. I love the passion you're putting behind this, Rye. You could tell in all the episodes that you're having a really, really good time. I'm happy to be here, man.
And thank you for coming on, because you're an interesting cat.
Oh, thanks.
I find underrated, in my opinion, in certain areas.
Oh,
so, you have been an announcer for, I don't want to say years because I don't want to make you feel old.
But it's okay. You could say 20.
Yeah, you've been on the radio for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm not talking frequent flyer miles. I have a lot of those, too.
Not only are you an announcer, but you've also been a music programmer for a majority. Is that fair to say?
In my career, about half of my career. Radio-wise, I've done music programming, so just under half. Working as a music director solely in one station and helping in other departments and others.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, because not everyone is in terms of in the know of radio lingo and radio land like we are as professionals,
quote unquote professionals.
Explain in broad terms to some of the people who might not know what a music programmer or music director is.
Long story short, the music director is pretty much the person, with the exception of their boss, the program director who's ahead of them, who would essentially choose which music gets onto a radio station. Music directors and program directors, and sometimes their announcers, would usually meet about once a week. And you would go through a bunch of records which are put out via record companies. Nowadays, you got to look at stuff that's gone viral, streaming, Apple Music, Spotify, whatnot, and see if it's the right fit for your station. And how many times a week you want to play it. And what gets moved up, what gets moved over, what gets moved out. Those are all the factors in a nutshell that really a music director really does.
Yeah. And you mentioned what moves up, what moves down, what moves out. And what I don't think a lot of people realize that, when it comes to the music of a radio station, one, it's not just the announcer who just sits in there and decides what they want to play.
No.
That's a biggie that people are like, oh, had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, that there's a real science to it.
Absolutely.
That a lot of people don't seem to understand. I think you can just play whatever kind of, just play the new, I don't know, Rihanna track or something. You know what I mean? It's like there is much more than, just being like, oh, that maybe is a good song, but there's a recipe.
DJs can relate to this, and if someone requests a song or it's on YouTube, I can't just rip a record from YouTube and play it on the radio. Or when I was in my club days, it's the ones who hold up their phone to the DJ.
Get out this one.
Yeah, exactly. Or the ones who say, "Here, you can play this off my iPod." It's like, it doesn't work like that. No. Sorry, DJ YouTube. Doesn't quite work that way. So the world that you and I work in is top 40, or what they call CHR, Contemporary Hit Radio. So in that world of top 40, you spin the biggest and the best of the current records that are out there. Some of the ones that are big from within the year, maybe a little over a year. So a few really good ones from back of the day. But the fact of the matter is, in the world that we live in now, like, for example, you're listening to a podcast right now, and whether we go an hour or half an hour, 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever, it's a grab your attention now kind of world. So, for example, if you're in the car on the way to work and it's 7:30 in the morning and you want to hear your favorite song, and you don't get that favorite song right away, chances are pretty good that when you drive home at 4:30, 5 o'clock, that song that you wanted will be on, because this is the way that records rotate. And there are some people who listen to the radio just for their drive to work and drive back. Some people pop it on the computer while they're at work, have their headphones on, maybe listen a little longer. Some people do it when they're at the gym. Some people will have it at home as background noise, whatever. Everybody is different. And then you have some people who have it on radio station on because they like the station, but they have it on 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And they always say, why do you repeat the same songs every single day?
Oh, that's the question we all get.
Exactly. Well, the fact of the matter is, my routine versus your routine, Rye, versus person C's routine, person D's routine, and so on, they're not the same. For the most part, Ryan, you work 9 to 5 for your regular workday. I don't do 9 to 5. My workday is essentially 5 to midnight.
Yeah.
So I come in around 5 o'clock, do my show prep, do any recording, voice commercials and whatnot, then do the on-air show, 7 o'clock to midnight. And sometimes they even stay later because I either got to do something recording for the next day or do some emails or whatever the case may be. We may have like 7 or 8 hour work days, but they're not on the same shift. If our music tastes are similar, you might want to hear the same song. You got to do your best to cater to everybody. And there is a method behind the madness. And for somebody who's worked in this industry for so long, I get that question at least twice a week.
It's the number one complaint of any radio person. Why do you play the same? Like,
especially if you work in a current music format. Now, if you now if you work in what they call a gold music format, which would be like if you're like a classic hit station or a classic rock station, the songs might not rotate as much, but they will still play their certain big ones X amount of times per week. Mm-hmm. And some say, well, why do you want to get in why don't you get into some of the deeper cuts or some of the album stuff? Well, not everybody has, just because you have that piece of vinyl or that CD in your collection, there might be somebody who likes that same artist, but they don't like it as deep as you. Give me the hits and that's that. Well, one person might appreciate an album cut, somebody else is like, I don't know what this is, I'm going to search to another station. Yeah. So you want to hold them as long as you can.
And you know how many times, I always equate it to when I'm explaining it to people, it's like, you're at the bar, like, the DJ's playing. Like, what do you want to hear? You want to hear the hits. You want to hear the stuff that you know.
Give me the big record. Yeah.
That you can sing at the top of your lungs or get down to.
Well, the DJ wants to give the crowd that feeling too, because DJs and the people in the bar vibe off of each other.
Yeah.
If you got a packed floor and everyone's jumping, the DJ feels good. The DJ's going to give you a track that's a home run, that's a slam and whatnot, and vice versa. It bounces back and forth. If I'm the DJ in the bar or the MC and whatnot, I'm not going to cater to that one person who wants to hear some random weird cut completely out of left field because you know it and it came out yesterday on something completely random that's not Spotify or Apple Music.
Yeah, locals,
exactly.
SoundCloud mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, you and your 5 boys in the corner might absolutely go off. My dance floor is going to empty quicker than somebody having an accident on the floor.
And it's the same thing for radio, man. Like,
exactly.
You're not on the dance floor, but you're tuning out.
Exactly.
And, you know, I listen in this office when I'm in all day, and I hear the same songs. And you know what? If I don't like it, whatever. But, yeah, like you said, you have to appeal to the mass audience, not to the deep cuts. And I think, you don't want to hear the same song all the time, but...
Well, the great thing is now music is more accessible no matter what. So, back in the day, you always, 90% of the time, you heard it on the radio first, and then you go out and buy your record, or buy your CD, or buy your vinyl and whatnot. Now we have online streaming. Now we have YouTube. Now you have all these other options. Everyone can control their playlist now. Radio is still big, which is great because we're still getting paid. We're still here.
Still have a job.
Yeah. And there's been so many things that have... have been seen to threaten radio over the course of the years. You can go back to like when television launched. Mm-hmm. But everything is more accessible now. So if there's something you're not a fan of, you can find it somewhere else. You can find another way to get it, and you're good to go.
do you think that hurts radio in a way that, like, my argument sometimes with people who will listen anyway is, if I can hear what I want, when I want, where I want, do I need to depend on somebody else to do it for me, to say when I need to listen to something?
I hear you. Some people say would hurt radio. I think it's actually kind of better for radio because, one, it makes everybody step up their game. Mm-hmm. So your competition, it's just like any other restaurant. You say you have like a restaurant that's been doing well for 25 years and you cater to the neighborhood and did really, really well. Well, someone else moved in down the street, has similar cuisine, but has a couple of things that really stand out for. And it's like, you know what? Okay. They're taking part of my business, but they're doing something that obviously people are liking. So am I just going to sit here and just go with the old favorites, or am I going to spice things up a little bit? Mm-hmm. And competition makes everybody better. So when it comes to that hurting radio, no. It actually makes radio, to me, like as a programmer, when things like Shazam was just starting to go, and then online streaming, people were worried about Pandora like a while ago, like a few years back, and a lot of companies were like, some people would brush it off. It's like, oh, it's nothing, it's a fad, and it's going to go away. Well, guess what? Streaming services are here, and especially when you have like the big ones like Apple and Spotify and Pandora, everyone having the option, it's like, well, guess what, programmers? What are these people listening to that you might not be getting from the record revenue? Or what's that song in that commercial everybody's seeming to go on about? So guess what? They're signing up for subscription services and seeing what's going on because they're looking at what the people want. Like even with Shazam, what's people listening to this market because they want to know what it is? It's like, hey, this is the number 3 song on Shazam in this market? Okay. So it actually has improved, in my opinion, the quality of the records that are out there because you're talking to your audience a little bit more. It's for the most part has made the radio programmers step up their game.
I agree because you see it all the time now, especially with like you and Mike, our music director for Jump. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll hear you guys say we're playing something that no other station in Canada, or I think in some cases North America, we're playing.
Yeah, we were lucky to have a few of those. Yeah, you take ownership of it.
Yeah,
because guess
huge.
what? It's
we're breaking that song almost.
Absolutely. And so we're here in Ottawa, and it's like, why is the song all of a sudden in a span of 2 weeks got like 20 million streams worldwide, and nobody's playing it here? You take a listen, it's like, wow. Do a little research, go a buzz behind it. So we'll throw it into the mix and see how it resonates. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, whoa, what's this? Not everybody's going to have a Spotify account. Not everybody has an Apple Music account. It's a little more common now.
Especially for young people.
Absolutely.
Which CHR is who they target.
Absolutely. I mean, chances are pretty good now if you get a mobile device, depending on your carrier, it's like, hey, we'll throw in a year's worth of Spotify, or we'll include it in your package. Oh, great. I'm at the gym. I'm going to surf around and see what I find.
I think what a lot of us, people who aren't necessarily involved with music, like, yes, I'm in radio, but I'm not in the music department. I don't know what, all the nitty gritties that, you guys go through with the labels and with artists and all that stuff. But like, you've been around music long enough in the industry to know what's a good song. What do you think when you're like, this song is going to catch on, this is going to break? Like, you could be wrong, but like,
sure,
you have certain, like, how do you decipher what song is going to be big or is going to really take off, or like, are there certain attributes that kind of relate to those songs?
It's actually kind of funny because to me, there's still some things remaining in radio which you go with your gut, and a lot of the times your gut instinct does work. And the other times it's just indigestion, but that passes. I mean, also if it's a established artist, chances are pretty good that
Yeah.
You'll be like, okay, this is going to catch
out
on.
a new album. You see that all 9 songs are trending.
Sure, absolutely. You'll have a guy like Drake who has something like that.
But like a breakthrough artist, though, or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, sure. Sometimes it's just the feeling of a song. One thing is for me, if I hear something that's brand new and I'm hearing it for the first time, and you have me either bopping my head or tapping my toe or playing with my pen on the table, doing a tap, 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 in a span of like 15, 20 seconds, you've got my attention. Sometimes, usually, you have a build-up and it gets to a point, and if there's an incredible chorus or a great hook or the production's amazing. There are sometimes those songs that make you go, holy crap. I'll give you a great example. So this was back in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. I was working at my previous radio station in Kitchener at the time. I was the music director there. I get a text from my label rep from a certain music company. Well, I'll even say the artist in the company. It was Universal Music Canada. He's like, hey, just so you know, we have this new Drake record coming out. I'm like, okay. I had been working the night before. I did my on-air show, and I had a Thursday night club gig. So it's really for me, I had been working from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon until about 2 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, he had given me a heads up prior to. I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyway, I get a text from him. I'm half asleep. So I'll make sure I'm closer to the mic because I'm leaning back like, example, like, okay. So the song was Hold On, We're Going Home, which is still personally one of my favorite Drake songs. And that turned out to be a massive, massive song. So I actually got the email, got the link, played it on my phone. And I'm kind of in and kind of out. And it got to the point where it actually woke me out of bed and I sat up. And I'm like, wow. So you still can get that reaction no matter who the artist is, whether you've been established 5, 10, 20 years with a song, you're somebody I've never heard of or nobody's heard of. Every artist has the chance to do that. Every song has a chance to do that. That one for me was one that really, really stood out.
Was that his break? Like,
that was
every artist kind of has that break, right? That song that all of a sudden whoosh, takes him to stardom. Was that it, or did he have some stuff before?
It took him to a higher level. Oh yeah, he's been out since like really 2009. Like Best I Ever Had was first like one that really gave him some success at pop. But that one with Hold On, I'm Going Home, that one really got him to cross over from just mainstream top 40 and rhythmic top 40 to like hot adult contemporary, which is like adult top 40. So it's pop without the heavy hip hop and the heavy dance.
It's the sophisticated
ones. But it got other radio stations that would not have touched Drake records with a 10-foot pole prior to say, holy crap. Wow. I remember I hit my buddy back from the record company saying, I want to jump early on this record now. Can I? So luckily we did. And then we would see which radio stations added the song its first week. So there's a station I was at in Kitchener, one other the Toronto pop ones, a couple others, and one of them was one of the adult contemporary stations in Toronto, which is one of the biggest in the country. And I'm like, whoa, if they added it, because they never touched a Drake record ever. Mm-hmm. This is a big song that resonates right across the board. And they say the rest is history. So,
well,
but
now,
yeah, exactly.
Texting 13-year-olds with dating advice.
Oh Lord, let's not cross that line.
It's interesting though because I think a lot of the time, to get noticed, especially artists really have to take chances. And do something different, especially for that, like I said, that breakthrough. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure as a music director, you would get a lot of that. Like, how do you, when it's not like everything else, it's like, it's totally different. I'm trying to think of a good example. It's just a different sound. Like,
see, the funny thing is, you want to stand out amongst the crowd. Absolutely.
That's it, right? And then most of the time, I think it flops. A lot of the time, it must flop.
It's funny because you know how I mentioned earlier, it has to fit the sound of the station or the sound of the product you're working for?
Yes. Yeah. So it makes it even tougher.
It does. It's like, think outside the box, but you still got to be within the box. And it's like, you're contradicting yourself. It's kind of like the battle you have to play.
Yeah.
I've said to independent artists before who have shopped music to me at the stations I've worked at. If it's not the right fit for me and for the station I'm working at, it doesn't mean it's not the right fit for somebody else. When it comes to a local artist in that artist's market, the first thing they think of is like, oh, the big radio station or stations there. And now I don't think it's as much of a problem because you can put things out independently very, very easily. You can put a song on YouTube, no problem. You can put out a song virtually anywhere. You can make a mixtape. You can have it download, and next thing you know, it can go viral, or you know, you push it really well. But I've said to people before, I'm like, look, this song might not work for the station and us here, but it doesn't mean it won't work anywhere else. So, but I send it to this station and this station, this station, this station. I said all in this city, right? Yeah. I'm like, have you sent it to stations in Vancouver, stations in Ottawa, stations in so and so? Have you gone internationally? Have you gone a different realm? No. Why not? Everything is accessible now.
That's true. With digital age, and it can, instead of just being a big hit locally,
absolutely,
and it can like cross the oceans. Yeah. It could go anywhere.
Yeah. Stop thinking inside your bubble. Don't think about what your boys and your family will think because you get the airplay. If you get the airplay at one station here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know on one artist who I said to him, you know what, I will give you a shot here. Because I like the record. You're independent. Canadian content works too. And it was a good song. But I'm also going to issue you a challenge. You're not stopping here. Shop it to other radio stations here, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Make contacts with those programmers. Make contacts with those music directors. You could say, hey, we're getting X amount of play here, blah, 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 blah. But if there's no success or you're just sitting on that record in a span of 3 weeks to a month, if I gave you like 10 plays a week and I gave you about 40 plays and you haven't done anything, well, guess what? I'm gonna move on to the next record that is worthy of more spins than yours.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it grow. You have to keep your grind on. You have to keep the momentum going. You got one. Let's see you get two. Yeah. Let's see you get three. Let's see you get four. The great thing is, like, other programmers know, and other programmers talk to each other. I've had people reach out. I'm like, hey, I heard this song from this artist, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, okay, well, here's the link if you want to check it out for yourself. And next thing you know, they get added, or they want to meet with the artist. Or especially if they're independent, you get a record company or a distribution company, be like, who is that? Where can I find them? Where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
It can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to find a good example of someone who changed who kind of changed the game a little bit. You know what I mean? Like a breakthrough song or artist, and I couldn't really think. I mean, there was nothing contemporary that came up as I Googled. Actually, as I did, it came up. I was like, breakthrough songs that changed the world, and it was all about like world peace and like religious music.
Okay, let's go with artists. Let's go with artists who went independent and got big before they signed.
Well, I don't know if they went independent, but what I kind of thought that kind of changed the music game in a way was Ed Sheeran, in a way, because Top 40 never really. And I could be wrong, just going back on my recent memory, that had this was at one point, this was just, and even when he performs, it's just a guy and a guitar.
Yeah.
And Adele's another good example of someone who just did something completely different.
Justin Bieber, YouTube kid.
Do you think so?
No, absolutely. The old station I worked at was in Kitchener, which is just outside of Stratford. Bieber really got discovered. Remember, he linked up, there were a couple of big artists who knew about Bieber stuff from YouTube.
That's who he was found, eh?
Exactly. It was Usher
Usher?
and Justin Timberlake. And he leaned over to Usher's side. I met Justin Bieber when he was 15 years old. Came into the radio station in Kitchener. By the way, they're owned by the same company as here, Jump 106.9. It's 91.5 to beat in Kitchener. So shout out K-Dub. Came into the radio station. We were the first station to play his record, but people knew the kid before he even got signed because he was doing cover songs.
Yeah. Shawn Mendes did that too.
Mendes was another one, and he got discovered through Seacrest and all that.
But to me anyway, just as a plain person, their music, it kind of it fits in with the vibe of everything else. But when you hear like Ed Sheeran, and more so now he's a little more poppy, but like when he broke in with A-Team, with Lego House, or Adele with like Rolling in the Deep, or Someone Like You, to me, you didn't hear that stuff on anything, and all of a sudden you're just like, whoa,
completely out of left field.
And then people try to imitate that, but
I remember they
took a chance on their art.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in Canada at one point Adele wasn't represented on the 19 album, to the point where our radio station wanted to play Adele. I had to go out and buy the album because it wasn't getting any representation.
That's crazy.
Until later.
And that's one of the biggest albums now.
Yeah, exactly. The 19 album from back in the day. But even I'll predate that. I'll go back into the mid 90s. The Offspring. Smash is one of the biggest independent rock albums of all time. And we're talking about songs like, Keep 'Em Separated, and
they're huge in the 90s.
Absolutely. And they really didn't, and they didn't sign with a record label. They didn't sign with a Columbia Sony until it was 96 or 97, because when Ixnay on the Ombre came out, that's when they were signed to a major label.
So basically
their biggest album was their independent album.
So if they're independent, really what that means is like they're doing the work themselves. Like they're pushing it as artists without the backing of a good label, which I mean you can always argue is it's much easier to have a big machine behind you. But
absolutely. It's because they do have to work. They do like 3/4 of the work for you. Yeah,
but in some cases also just if you're just doing your own thing and you get that opportunity where someone believes in it and sees the value in it, like it can take off on its own merit, which is also kind of nice.
Well, absolutely. Well, on top of that too, if you sign with a major label, it's like, okay, so we're going to take X amount of money because we're going to do the promotional stuff, we're going to do the concert stuff through your record promoter, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, and it's like, okay, we take all this, and here's this for you, which could still be a very good amount of money. But, the majority of that money goes, thank you very much. This covers our promo team. This covers our advertising. This covers this, that, and the other. Chance the Rapper, for example. He's indie.
Still?
If I'm not mistaken, if he signed anything at all, it would be a distribution deal.
This is why we have the internet machine now pulled up in here.
Yeah.
Chance the Rapper.
Like an artist like him, where some artists will say you can't go anywhere without a big label anymore, and
I think he is signed now.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then so be it.
It says Atlantic and Universal.
Okay, Atlantic. Oh, okay. All right. So there you go. But when he really started coming out, he was indie.
Well, even as soon as last year, it says a 23-year-old. There's an article written: a 23-year-old rapper refuses to sign a record deal.
There you go. Case in point. Because he wants to keep the money. He did all the work.
Yeah.
Oh, and for a lot of those artists too.
He's younger than me. I'm so unaccomplished.
Oh jeez. For those guys too. I mean, they want to see their work. They want to see it thrive, and they want to reap the rewards of it. I remember when I'll go way back a little bit. I remember when the Black Eyed Peas were more of an underground kind of vibe before they went mainstream, and they had a huge following before they went mainstream.
Was that before Where's the Love?
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
Before the Ella Funk album.
Was that like 2004, 2005?
Yeah, exactly.
Much Music.
Yeah, there you go.
On there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different company.
Yeah, we're talking. We're talking before Fergie got in. when Will and Albert the Ab and those guys were working with a Canadian artist by the name of Estero.
Never heard of him or her.
You never heard of Estero?
No.
Oh, dude.
That's what I mean. I work in radio, but I am not on the music side.
Well, yeah. Estero's a great artist. She still is fantastic.
What's the song?
If you just look her up online, Esthero. Weekend was a really big song for her. But you know, what happened? Look, if you have a family and you're a music artist and you get signed with a major label and whatnot, while some people would say you're selling out, the artist would say this is your opportunity to go big, take care of your family for years to come, and be like, nah, I'd be fool not to sign.
Yeah, that's I think the difference between being like maybe if you're truly lucky, a millionaire, between like a multi-million-dollar brand enterprise of yourself, where you've turned your own self into a corporation. I think that's the difference.
Well, you know, like Jay-Z would say, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business, man.
And
Case in point.
And you could really take that into anything, not just music. You could take that into a radio announcer. I know Tony and I talked about that as a brand, as me, as just myself, like doing my job, my speaking, this podcast. Like
everybody's a brand. Everybody is a brand.
Whether we like it or not, until the system changes, this is the way it is.
Exactly.
And you need to find a way to monetize yourself.
Absolutely.
And promote yourself. And it's great. And we should be looking to people, not criticizing them for. It's not selling out. It's making
your brand bigger.
Yeah.
It's trying to
Would
provide.
you not take that opportunity? You'd be like, nah, man, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. And then next thing you know, why this person's got like a really nice house, a couple of cars, doing really really well for himself. With this other person's like, oh damn, wow. And then that's when a lot of the hate comes in because there's some jealousy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that when people say, oh, you sold out with that, or when like the artist experiments with a new sound or like has an album that's different from their last album. I remember always getting annoyed at people with and this was even before social media was huge, but with Linkin Park, because they started really heavy and they had their vibe, but as they grew older as people and their music evolved and
perfect song. When Numb came out, it didn't just sit on the alternative rock charts. It crossed over onto pop.
Is that right?
Because it was relatable. It had a great hook.
It's a great song.
It's a great
one of my
song.
favorite songs.
Absolutely. And, and people thought they sold out because...
Oh, yeah, all the time. Every new album, like, there's Hybrid Theory. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And again, that was even before social media was big.
Well, heck, the album that they did with Jay-Z is still one of my favorite albums of all time.
Love those mashups.
Yeah, exactly. It's a phenomenal album. But, some people would be like, oh, you get one song. For example, like, even, again, before the days of social media, if you heard the song on one radio station that was one artist for and I'm not putting everybody in their category because everybody has different tastes. I love all kinds of music. But for somebody who is loyal to one genre of music, loyal to one radio station that played that certain genre of music, next thing you know, it lands on the pop station and we're like, oh, what the hell are you telling? No, I'll never hear these guys ever again. Okay, then.
Happens a lot now.
You know what? I think it's about the same amount.
As soon as it goes to pop radio, people are like, oh, well, not everyone, but like a lot of people are like, I'm out. And you're like, what? Why, man? It's a great song.
Yeah, because the mainstream stations play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'll go over to, and then they'll say something like, oh, I'll go back to my channel on Sirius Radio. It's just like, you just realize what you just said.
Yeah. What people need to understand is, if everything evolves, and if you're not evolving, you're
left behind.
Yeah, exactly. You become that racist, crotchety asshole sitting on his porch or commenting on Facebook.
Get off my lawn!
Exactly. Like, just Trudeau, Trump, just keyboarding. Like,
keyboard warriors.
Well, not even like the older generation, not necessarily the younger generation of those, but like, we all as people, whether it's our art, it's our music, it's like, it's who we are as people. Like, we need to evolve and grow because the world is ever changing. It goes back to what you were saying, like, competition for radio, and people always saying, "Oh, radio's going to die." It's like it's never truly going to die, but it will evolve and it will change. And the current form of radio will die, but it's not going to die.
No, but also when it comes to like the radio medium, I don't think will die. But when it comes to the way radio stations are taken care of by the person or persons running that station, if they are not evolving along with it, they're going to be left behind. Perfect example. So we are now in 2018. When a lot of oldie stations were around a few years back that were going, for example, 60s, 70s, 80s format, well, there's one thing those stations had to realize. A lot of those listeners are literally dying off. Like, they are dying because not everybody in this this year or in this decade or even in this millennium, know songs from, heck, I'll even say like the 1990s now, 1980s, 1970s.
I think, media in general, not just radio, but is really missing an opportunity to monetize on the 90s. Because 90s nostalgia is huge.
It's actually last year, 90s retro stations or 90s throwback stations. Retro to me is the word like 80s and back on. Throwback is early 2000s and 90s. In the U.S., it was last year, if memory serves me correctly, it was the #1 new format that stations were either launching as or evolving to. So going back to like the 60s, 70s, and 80s things, it tells some of those programmers, we have to move up because we are losing that older end of the audience. So those stations whose playlists would start in the 60s would have to move up into those playlists that start in the 70s. Some would start in the 80s. There are a lot of stations that are going like 80s, 90s current or 90s, 2000s. Because if you think about it now, like, certain demos.
Who's the buying demo right now? It's people who grew up in the 90s.
Exactly.
They're the ones spending the money.
Exactly. So they're the ones who are spending the money. It's like, give them a reason to turn on the radio and make them feel good about what they grew up on or what they loved from back in the day.
You cannot tell me you're driving your car and you hear like Biggie to Backstreet Boys to like Boys to Men. Like you're just like, oh, it's everywhere.
Exactly.
Like just singing your heart. Like, and nostalgia is such a big thing for millennials, I think, because I as a millennial, I'm sure other generations always look back on.
Every generation looks back on the times that were.
But like,
absolutely,
the 90s were such a crazy time.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, we saw like technology go from pretty much almost nothing to like. I mean, I think if you look back on it, 2000 to 2010 was really like the year where all of a sudden like it was like a steady growth and then just like technology, but the 90s really laid the foundation for that.
Sure.
For how we consume content, how we interact with each other, because that's when we started getting messaging and all.
Well,
that,
yeah. Well, you go farther
out.
than that. The seeds were really planted way back, like in the. I mean, hell, the making of the first computer decades and decades and decades ago, and everything evolved through that time. But if you even look back, and I'm not even going to go on the technology realm. If you look back and you hear a certain song from a certain time, it will take you back to those memories that there's something that really impacted your life. Maybe it was
100%.
That first girlfriend, or the time. Remember you had your first car and it was the first song that came up on the radio.
Yeah, first kiss.
First
and
kiss
with your buddies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm on air, whether on one of the two stations I currently work on, whether it's Jump 106.9 Ottawa or 104.5 Fresh Radio in Cornwall, and there's two, and the differences for their Jump leads current. Fresh has current, but has some great throwbacks as well, and their playlist will be a little bit deeper. There will be certain songs that might come up within the gold or the throwback category where I'm like, I know exactly where I was. I know exactly who I was with. I know why this song makes me feel so good. I know why this song makes me feel so bad. We all have that emotion.
Emotions.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
One of the great things about music is it transcends, your color of your skin, your gender, your sex, where you come from, your religion.
Music is universal.
Yeah, like a good song is a good song is a good song. Everybody can love it, and it elicits so much emotions. And like I think that's what art does in general. Is it if good art at least like impacts you in an emotion.
Absolutely.
Like I'm one of those people who gets like the chills when I hear a song or something, and my skin, my hair stands up.
If my hair stands up, and I don't have a lot on my head, but if it makes that stand up, or the hair on my arm stands up, it's like there's something there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Listen, I've spent 40 minutes now painting you as this music guy, but I know there's a lot more to you than that.
Oh, we're taking off another layer of the onion, are we?
Well, I know you got a show coming up.
Sure, we got time. We're good.
But there are a lot of things I want to touch on with you. Because,
all right, hit me. Not literally though.
No, you're too far away.
Okay, good.
One of the things I find I don't want to say find interesting, but you are the first person of color to be on the podcast. So I like the diversity that's coming on here. Mm-hmm. So I want to, if you're cool with that, just touch on you with a couple things.
Of course.
One of them being, on the last episode when I was talking with Tony, he was talking about a tweet that went around. It went around Ottawa, and the person was saying there's no diversity on our radio. We have no people of color, and
Absolutely.
Some people got back at that.
Yeah.
I mean, have you, like, what's your experience of that, being as, like, a person in the media, being, like, a public personality? Like, have you, I don't want to say, don't want to talk about, like, outright racism, but have you found it
have I had
challenging
obstacles or whatnot?
Obstacles? Like, has it been different for you? Because Canada's painted as this, like, picture of equality and diversity, and it's great, but we all know that's not necessarily 100% true.
Absolutely. For me, I can say in my career as a broadcaster, in a lot of ways, I've been very, very fortunate to get in on a few opportunities that might not have come across my path. And I'm not and I'm not saying, because, I am a person of color, those opportunities came. Far from it. I had to work my ass off, and I'm very proud of the work I've done over the past 20 years of my career. I've had the opportunity to launch Canada's first urban station. So that was Flow 93.5 in Toronto, which was the first hip-hop and R&B station, or the urban format, in the country. I think that's a huge achievement, and that's one I'm very, very, very proud of. I'm actually honored I had the opportunity to work at 2 urban stations, one in Toronto and one in Calgary. And the reason why I was approached about those stations was because of the work I did on stations that when I actually was approached about going to Flow, my old boss, a wonderful gentleman by the name of Gary Slate, when he was the general manager and one of the Grand Poobah by a company known as Standard Broadcasting, he was involved with the Flow project and said, I'd like you to meet with a couple of people. And I said, okay, I've heard about this going on. And he was proud of the work I did co-producing an adult top 40 or hot adult contemporary morning show. And said, I think you're a good fit, do some production. I did some on air, a little bit. And one thing led to the other. And then I was lucky enough to get through the doors there, did an on air show there, and was there for a good couple of years before I went off to Calgary, and did a couple of years there on Vibe 98.5 there, doing hip hop and R&B and doing that work as well. I've been very, very fortunate. I could say very, very blessed that I haven't had many people block me because of my race. I think it's because I've worked with some very, very good people who saw me for my talent, saw me for my work ethic, and liked what I did as a broadcaster, and who liked me as a person. Mm-hmm. Sure, are there things out there in the industry that kind of make you lift your eyebrow and kind of make you go, yeah, sure.
Well, I think you are one of the few in the country. I mean, I haven't done extensive research on it, but just off the top of my head, like, you are one of the few announcers that, like, is a person of color. Like, on, like, and when I say that, like, a true, like, commercial radio station. I know there's, like, ethnic stations and lower things like that, but, like, people who have, quote unquote, made it.
I will say that now there's a lot more than there was when I started 20 years ago. A lot more. Mm-hmm. There's some incredibly talented people of all races, of all backgrounds, who do some phenomenal work. And going back to that tweet that person put out there, the great thing is when it came back of that tweet, that, you know, when everybody who responded to that person was like, when that person came back with a response was, oh, wow, I genuinely didn't know. Essentially, we schooled them politely, saying, you know, your perception here is completely wrong. We have a pretty diverse lineup. And, you know, we're proud of who we are. We're proud of our backgrounds. We're proud of the work we do. For me personally as well, I am a product of an interracial marriage. My father, God bless him, he was from England. He's a white man. My mother's from Jamaica, black woman. But a lot of people don't know, unless they hear my last name around, like, the Toronto area or southwestern Ontario by the last name of Rickards. My father, who is the English gentleman, who was the white man, wrote for Caribbean newspapers and was a columnist, and he would talk about things going on in the Caribbean community and the black community because he lived in that community. He would write about things like Carabana in Toronto. He would write about things going on the island of Jamaica. He befriended government officials from several of those countries because he was passionate about the work he did. I got the broadcasting blood from him. He worked for the CBC for many years and CBC shortwave, Radio Canada International. He did work in England, as a freelancer for the BBC. So I get that, the broadcast blood from him. But one thing he taught me, which always stood out, was, don't let your color just define you, because anybody can break down a wall. And it doesn't really matter. For some people, hey, well, you know what? That's you, your closed-mindedness. If that matters to you, then that's your bubble. That's what you believe in, then fine. But for me, like, I had a guy who I looked up to every single day, and I saw the work that he did and read the work that he did and listened to the work that he did. And he was respected as a man who told their stories and talked about their achievement and plight. And, he was seen by many as just a man who told their stories. And for a lot of people, it didn't matter that he was a white English gentleman with an accent. He was telling people the stories of, like, wonderful things and things that weren't so wonderful. But he was out there telling the people those stories and letting people know about what's going on. He did that until the day he died. And I'm forever grateful. I'm grateful for my dad for many, many things, but that's one of the things that really stood out to me. So part of me is I choke up a little bit talking about my old man, but
I'm choking up too.
yeah,
over here.
like I love him and I miss him. And to the Tim Hortons we go.
Woo. Do you think there's, because I think if you're on Twitter and we all know like the internet doesn't speak for everybody all the time. It's always the smallest groups are the loudest, but there are people on the internet and who do believe that more should be done for business, for industries in general, whether it's media, sports, a business, whatever it is, that more needs to be done to get more diversity into the workplace. Now, would you say there's things that could be done better, or do you think at this time, and not maybe when you started, but that at this time that it's really more up to the individual and the character and the hard work that they're going to bring? Like, do you think there's things that industry or business should change?
That is a really
deep
fine
question.
line. Wow. Well, just look at the company that we are in. I mean, there's a reason why every 6 months we get, or every few months or whatever, we get those online questionnaires and those online surveys. I think most major companies are doing it now. And one big thing is
it's topical.
Absolutely. And one big thing is diversity.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. Absolutely. Like, people, no matter where they're from, no matter what their background, should be represented for a company and whatnot. You also want somebody who's qualified for the job.
Yeah, that's the thing I teeter on, is where, like, because I've always hired people just like truly based on the character and how well I think they're going to be at the job. I've hired people from all sorts of different backgrounds to do the work that I need to be done. So I teeter, as a person who views it that way, I teeter on the question of equality of outcome versus opportunity and equality of outcome. Because on one hand, I do recognize that a lot of industries do need to have diversity in the workplace.
Sure.
And that nobody should be basing their decision on someone's background, name, skin color, whatever, gender, what have you. But at the same time, I don't think that just because you are different, you should necessarily be getting a job, right?
You shouldn't be given the job because of your skin color or because of your background or your sexual preference or whatever.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people wouldn't want that anyway. Like, I could be wrong.
No. Like, no, you wouldn't want that at all. At least I would hope not. Again, it's that really fine line. Yes, you want somebody who's able to do the job and do the job well. Yes, there should be somebody. I mean, yeah, people from, regardless of your skin color, regardless of if you have a disability or not. I'd love for everybody to represent it, and it's true. Unfortunately, we're not there. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, but that honestly goes right to the top of the corporation. Like, what's your company's beliefs? And there's saying what you believe in, and there's acting upon it.
Yeah.
And every door you go through, every office is different. There are some people who will be like, this person's qualified for the job, but this person is of X background, but this would look really good on PR, but the other person's really qualified for it. Or this person has a physical disability, but they've got 10 years and they can do the job really, really well. But we have this other person here who will look better for public image. It's tough, man.
Yeah, I would hate to be in that position.
Well, again, it goes to the top of the company. Look, they say good work and good help is hard to find. If you look hard enough, you'll find it without question.
Yeah. Without
question.
Yeah. I can't speak of that point from like a different background point of view, but I can speak to it from a mental health point of view because it is true. A company's going to say anything that makes them look good.
Absolutely. People are being judged on things that can be seen and that can't be seen.
But what are your actions? And I have had these conversations before.
Sometimes those actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's great that you're saying all this, but everything leading up to this point has not demonstrated that to me, that, you accept me for who I am and what I think and my beliefs, you know what I mean? And
exactly.
Like, a company's never going to go... Well, I mean, some companies have said it, which, you can see the fall of them, Chick-fil. But, I mean, for most part, a company's not just going to come out right out and just be like, we don't like hiring, women. That's not our style. Only men. It's like, ooh, yeah, that's... You're going to watch the stocks fall pretty far on that. So
yeah. It's, again, we're not there yet. But like I said, it goes back up to it goes right up to the top. They're saying it to look good, and there's actually meaning it.
I do truly believe that while we will never have utopia, that in a lot of aspects as to human, I don't want to say human rights, but to bring a more humane aspect, like the human part of business, is going to really change in the next 20, 25 years as millennials and these people who really have these hardcore belief, not hardcore belief, but they passionate beliefs, get into charge and get into power and get to be the CEOs. And because right now we're still living in another generation.
Yeah, I hear you. They're still
growing up, but we're growing up.
Sure,
right?
But you also have some of those people in the millennial generation who are learning from some of those people of the old guard and are believing some of those things of the old guard.
Yeah.
And the battle's still going to be there no matter what.
I think unfortunately, for all sorts of battles, there'll always be some sort of battle.
Absolutely. And those challenges and those battles are what really defines you and how well you can get through them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's, and that's why it's like always base it off the person's character.
Absolutely.
Failure is the most to success, the greatest path to success.
Absolutely.
And you put the work in and you have the passion and you have the talent and it's all going to you have to believe it's going to come together at one point.
You do. But also in the world of wonderful social media, other people are watching. And we put you put your feelings about there of something, an opinion about something that might stir the pot and make people go, or something that had happened to you, and you put it out there on social media because you'll bash a person or bash a company because something happened. I mean, heck, we're like, let's go in the world of sports for a second here. People are going on Twitter and going on social media, doing a search, finding certain tweets or certain social media posts that might have happened years ago. And maybe their feelings at the time have changed since, maybe not. But it's out there. And it's out there forever. We have professional athletes who are apologizing for things.
Yeah, I've seen that. A couple of baseball players for racist tweets.
Absolutely.
Even liking a tweet.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're on Twitter, they're not looking at what you're retweeting. They see what you like.
Yeah.
If you have a potential employer now, one thing a lot of those potential employers do, they will scope your social media to see if you are actually the right fit.
Yeah. I've never looked at likes, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes those likes just
crazy.
come up on their own.
I've seen that now. I'm like, oh, my God.
No, so you put one wrong like at the wrong place.
No more butt likes for me. Sorry.
Lock your phone. Lock your phone. No, but in general, like. Oop. This is interesting. Here's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, potential employers are searching social media, and they'll know.
It's super tough now that there's not that line between your personal and your professional life anymore.
Yeah, I hear you.
In some cases, I agree with it. In some cases, I don't. And
there's certain things. If you're putting things out on social media out there to the universe, it's a public forum.
Yeah,
it's a public forum. Whether you lock your Facebook profile, whether you private your tweets, it's still out there public. If someone really wants to find it, they'll remind you.
Burner accounts. Burner accounts with no association.
Yeah, that didn't help for the former general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers now, did it? Not so
that was
much.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media, though, one of the big things that was, at least last week, and it's been dominating news for the past year, is the Colin Kaepernick saga. And I know we've touched on it a little bit, just talking together.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I really try to see both sides of this argument, because I don't have a horse in the race type thing. So I'm trying to see, because I totally see where Kaepernick's coming from. Like, I mean, that's a no-brainer. The injustices and the cruelty and the unfairness and the discrimination that, Black communities are facing every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially throughout the States, but throughout the world.
Yep. Oh, Canada has its problems too.
Oh yeah. Make no doubt, we are not a perfect
We
society.
are not immune.
Absolutely
We are not immune.
But also, I mean, trying to see it from the veteran's point of view. So I'm like, I mean, I'm not offended, but I'm not a veteran. So, like, I mean, how do you kind of see that whole thing going out? Because I lean towards the sides of Kaepernick. I'm like,
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm like, the injustices of the people far outweighs the love of the flag, in my opinion, because the love of the flag is not doing the justice to the people, which is what it's supposed to do.
I hear you. I 100% applaud what he's been doing to get the message out there. The Nike ad that came out a couple weeks ago, yeah, he'll never get a job in the National Football League ever again. We know that. And, he's even suing the National Football League for collusion right now. For someone sacrificing what they love to do and got paid well to do so, to get the message out there, I do applaud him for that. Absolutely. The one thing I was not too thrilled about Cap is when he decided not to vote, because that's a way you could still have your say.
Was it because I missed this story, was it the federal election? Like,
Yeah.
you didn't do the Trump vote?
Yeah, exactly. For me personally, if you don't vote, if you're bitching and complaining about what's going on and you didn't have your say, well, I'm sorry. Your opinion doesn't count to me.
Yeah.
We're lucky we live in a country that we have the opportunity to have your voice be heard in an election. You have the opportunity to go in Canada to an open parliament forum or something like that. You can be heard here. You can be. So for me, for him not voting, that kind of made me go, yeah. Otherwise, for getting the message out there where, I give full props for Nike to help get the, getting involved. Hey, for Nike, it's a great PR move. They're having their best stocks ever.
People are like questioning that, and you're like,
yeah, well,
duh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
They only did it because someone else didn't do it first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when the Nike CEO says, they're, for like, I think there's one of the major U.S. universities who said they are dropping Nike from their football program because it's an insult to the flag, whatever the case may be.
I saw Town did a vote too in Rhode Island or something, or a small little state, that a town like had a referendum and voted to ban Nike products in their town.
Oh, good grief! I know. Well, when the Nike CEO says, we don't need some of those ignorant people who rock the "Make America Great Again" caps, we're fine.
Yeah.
Well, their stocks show it.
For a business point of view, I think there are a lot of people in this world, and I think there are way more good people than bad people.
Oh, absolutely there
but
are.
Unfortunately, because there's so many people in the world, there are a lot of bad people.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, to me, it's again, it's accessibility. thank you, social media. It's become a gift and a curse on the world.
Yes.
Because there are some wonderful people you see and hear about, and there's some not so wonderful people you see and hear about. But going back to the Kaepernick thing, I fully applaud him for what he has done. He's getting the message out there. Guess what? He's getting the attention, whether people like it or not.
I like that he's donating money too.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing for me. If people are going to rise up and raise quote unquote awareness, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
But awareness as a quote is just really another form of doing nothing. It's like it was equated to walking over, seeing a dead body in a ditch, and just being like, look, look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to also walk the walk and back up what you're trying to do.
It's
and
also, yes. It's
I do
also
respect him for doing that as well.
It's the actions. Him doing the action and whatnot too. You know, he's selling shirts on his website. These I'm with Cap shirts, and the money does go to charity to help the cause, which is great as well. You know, going back to your example of the look, the pointing. I mean, now we're in an age where someone sees something bad going down on the street, like somebody getting into a fight or somebody getting shot or somebody getting stabbed, and as opposed to trying to help somebody, you're there on a cell phone watching it.
Accidents and stuff, like people are like not even calling 911, they're filming it so they can post it to social media.
Yeah, or get it out on TV, or hey,
always making it about like me.
Well,
I'm gonna get famous, I'm gonna go viral for this. It's like, no, that person needs your help.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. I hear it all the time. It's a crazy world we're living in, and with social media, it's such an infant stage. Of
like I said, gift and a curse. Gift and a curse.
But it's so new. You know what I mean?
It's
been
new.
around for 11 years, give or take. But this is new, and every day it seems to be becoming more and more of our lives.
The internet's only been around since the mid to late 1990s,
and just a lot of us, me included, like, just don't know how to handle all this communication and information, and like you said, like, I could tweet something and like that could literally impact my entire life. This one tweet, whether it was a joke, I found it funny, I found it, whatever. It could be harmless. I always make the joke. It's like, you could say good morning and people would shit on you. If you were a big enough account. Like, if I did it, no one would. But
think before you
If
post.
Trudeau said good morning, oh my God. Does it make it worth it? Is it worth it anymore? Because for all these great things, there's all this negativity too, and these negative. Like, I don't even know if it's worth it anymore.
The fact of the matter is, it also depends on how you go about your daily life. Are you going to let something negative, like, totally ruin your day? You try your best not to. Don't like something you see, scroll on by. Mute
people
the tweet.
find it hard, though.
Sure, I get that. And sure, not every day is easy, but you do control your own destiny. You do control how you deal with adversity. And as long as if you can find yourself a good place where you're centered and whatnot, and I mean, in a lot of ways, it goes back to your mental health, and you're a big mental health advocate. If you can find yourself a nice center and be in that good place, even on your worst days, if you can just somehow get a couple of steps forward, just trying not to find something that can drag you down, you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I fully believe that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I really think it's going to be up to the individual on how to find that now.
It absolutely is up to the individual.
I mean, you have your support system, you have your family, and you have your friends, whatever. But things are just changing so rapidly that our traditional institutions just they're not keeping up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have that controversy with the sex ed and everything with the
Ontario government. Yeah,
I read an article today that says some parents, and I can't remember where it was from, but some parents are trying to ban public speaking in schools now because
we've gotten to this point now.
Yeah, because it causes anxiety. And someone with mental health, I get it. It causes anxiety, but sometimes you really need to find a way to work through something.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's the hill we need to be like, you know what, we need to eliminate this because it's too stressful on people. It's like we cannot create a society where we're not capable of dealing with stress or getting through adversity. You will not die from public speaking. You
cannot live in a bubble. You know the story of the bubble boy? It doesn't exist. You cannot do that. Like,
you need to find coping skills.
Everybody has to fall. Everybody has to rebound. Everybody has to fail. It makes you better because you learn how to deal 100%. With that and move on from it.
And learn and grow. And you're like, okay, I failed this time, but how can I not fail the next time?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and it's not even like millennials are entitled or anything. I'm just watching this and I'm like, we are seriously taking away all adversity from people growing up, which some people I can see coming from a normal thing. Like, you want kids to have a happy life, but like as soon as you get 18 and you're tossed out into the real world,
then what?
There
You're
are
on
people
your own.
who are going to eat you alive.
Exactly.
You need to be prepared.
Exactly. Look, children are going to face adversity no matter what. My son, he's 4 years old, and he's on the autism spectrum. And I shudder, and I sometimes get scared and sometimes cry thinking about what is he going to deal with. But every time I see him, man, every time I see his face and laugh and whatnot, you know, he falls over and it's like, oh, all right, he's up. He's okay. He'll be all right. Mm-hmm. I cannot protect him his entire life. There's going to be things that he's going to have to learn. There's certain things he is going to have to overcome. It's just a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And of course, his family will be there to help him through it, through those bumps in the road, because that's what good people and that's what families do. But you're taking away things like public speaking, and then next thing you know, they're going to try and someone's going to trying to attempt to take away physical education because their kid can't climb a rope.
I wouldn't be shocked if that has already happened or is going to.
Yeah. It's like, no, these are the things that make your kid better. Guess what? There's certain things your kid's going to fail at. Certain things we as adults fail at.
All the time.
Absolutely.
I fail at something at least once a day. Whether it's talking to a girl, it's something at my job.
But you grow from it. You learn from it. Yeah. You grow from it. And sure, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and sometimes you'll eat at you. And like, sure, you'll have a bad day for it. Do your best to throw it off, and try again the next day.
Yeah, I really feel like a feel of failure / rejection are, becoming like the greatest human like walls, right? That like, sure. And people are just not as willing to push through anymore in all sorts of aspects of your life. It's not just one thing, but like they're like, I don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So they're just like, I'm just not going to do it. And
so you're letting fear win.
Yeah. You need people to do it. Mm-hmm. You need people to push those barriers down, or like goes right back to some of the earlier stuff we were talking about. Like it helps you grow and evolve as a person. And I don't know.
Think about it when you have your grandkids and your great grandkids are like, oh, when I was a boy, blah, well, we did, but I learned from it, and you will too.
Yeah, I take those deathbed confession things like truly to heart. When people are like, "These are I'm dying now, and these are the things I didn't do that I regret." Mm-hmm. I do look at that, and I'm like, because that's coming from an honest place,
sure.
Where it's like,
of course
I didn't do this, and I really regret it, and that's why. I was once told like some people talk a lot, but some people are quote unquote doers, and Ryan, you're a doer. And I'm like, yeah, like that was like one of the best compliments I ever got.
Look what you're doing. You're doing a podcast, aren't you?
What's that mean? Like the podcast is it's fun, man. We just sit and talk, but it's like something I talked about for a long time. I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna go do it. I'm just going to go sit in front of a microphone and record and just see if people want to get on. If it gets really big and goes great, I'm going to be like, yes,
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. But it's something you still enjoy.
Yeah. I would love to monetize this and make a living from it. Will it happen?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think whether it's this or it's getting a job in radio and talking, like you need to want to do something and then just like do it and like work everything you can to do it.
If you can find something that you are passionate about, and it doesn't matter what it is, and you can turn that into a career, you will never work a day in your life. And as some people would find that hokey or just very cliche, it's 100% true. I've been doing this for 20 freaking years, yapping, playing tunes, talking to music artists, and I get paid for this shit. like, man, how the hell have I survived doing this for so long? You know, part of the reason is I don't want a real grown-up job.
Yeah.
I don't. But I've been very lucky that I've made a wonderful career out of this. I've met some wonderful people, industry-wise and personal, through being a broadcaster. And sure, everyone's going to have their bad days and whatnot. And there are some days you're just like, oh, really? But I still love getting up to come to work every single day. And I'm lucky I have the chance to have that. Mm-hmm. And if you're in a position where you're thinking about something that you're passionate about and say, do I really want to go down this road? Can I do anything by going down this road? Yeah, you can. You can find it. There is a way that you can be happy and survive and thrive by doing something that you're passionate about. Will it take you a little while to get there? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you had it all in you the entire time. But the saying is 100% true. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. Ah, shut up!
And on that note, I feel like we could talk forever, but I know you got...
I actually got a show in 15 minutes.
You got your job to do.
I got to do work.
Quickly, where can people follow you on social media? Where can they listen to you? When can they...
Okay, radio-wise, Jump 106.9 in Ottawa. Sunday to Thursday night, 7 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Jumpradio.ca online or the Radio Player Canada app. 104.5 Fresh Radio in Cornwall, Ontario. Monday to Friday, 7 to midnight Eastern Time. 104.5 freshradio.ca or the Radio Player Canada.
Those are great plugs.
Thank you.
Are you on the radio?
Yeah. Social media and Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at Mr.D Radio, MRD Radio. I love interacting with followers, friends, new friends, old friends. Yeah, you can find me there. And usually... chances are pretty good. In Ottawa, you'll find me around TD Place. In Toronto, you'll find me around Rogers Centre. Yeah, so those are the places you can find me. So, hey, don't be shy. Come by, say hello. I'd love to shoot the shit.
Should do this again sometime. I'd enjoy this.
I'd love to.
It could, go way deeper. Have to cut it short.
You know what we have to do? You know what? If you'll have me, we'll do this on another night down the line in the pod. Get a few more people in here because I don't want people bored by my voice all the time. We'll do it on a night where you and I don't have to worry about being on the clock for anything. So in other words, we'll do like a Friday or a Saturday night or a Sunday. Well, Sunday night, so on. We'll figure it out at one point. We'll bring it. Yes, I'm bringing beer into the office. Slam the 2-4 down.
That is not unfamiliar from radio.
Exactly.
Anyways, thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure.
Mr. D, Damian Rickards, ladies and gentlemen. Bye, everybody.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.